All right, so here we are. I saved the hours of flattening and sanding and all that, 5-6 hours of that. This is how you flatten a table. This is a router sled that I built. It's nothing fancy. It goes back and forth. You take off an 1/8 inch or less at a time. You slide it all the way down and it makes the table nice and flat. After that's done, then the sanding begins. You got to get all the lines out and work your way up to about 120 and then 220 grit. So now I have this beautiful slab. Once the sanding is complete, or almost complete, it's at like 90% right now. I like to hit it with a little denatured alcohol just to see how the grain's going to pop out when it's all done. This will give you a pretty good idea on just how nice these tables can be when they're flooded with epoxy. You got this really nice Spalding maple here with all these cool lines in here, and that's a pretty nice grain. So my original thought was to make it like a hallway table and keep it a nice skinny table with small legs. It would fit in a hallway really nice for any kind of plants or stuff that you would want to put on there. But now, after some thought, I think that I'm going to cut this right down the center and flip it end to end and put the outsides on the inside, and I'm probably going to make a small river table, coffee table. That's my thought. So I'm going to hook up the skill saw, and I'm going to cut this baby right in half, and then we'll take a look at what the potential could be. And here we go. Okay, let's see where we're at. There's one, there's two. I'm going to remove my stabilizers that I use when you're using a router table. You can't have. Do a little quick cleanup. Be prepared for lots of sawdust if you're going to run a router table. Or flattening table, I should say. Okay, so here's our two pieces right in half. So we're going to take this one and turn it this way. And we're going to take this one and turn it this way. And then, let's see, I'm going to flip it over. Let's see how I like that. I think I like it the other way, the original way. So now we're going to have a river table down here, squared off. It'll be a coffee table. Looks like it's going to work out to be 42 inches long, and we'll make it the standard 15 to 16 inches wide. That's going to look pretty cool. Okay, I've gotten my table. This is what I use for a form on the bottom. It's just a standard plastic table that the epoxy does not stick to, but just as an insurance policy, I always coat the table with just a standard, this is Formula 1 car wax. It won't stick to the wax, so that's what I use. And when I'm done, this table will pop right off of here, no problem at all. So I've already taken the time to silicone the wood down on this side. Now I'm just going to put some silicone on this side so the epoxy doesn't leak underneath. I'm just going to run a bead right around where it's going to touch, just like this. I'm going to run one right in there just to fill that crack. And I always run two just to be sure. I hate epoxy leaks. They're really no fun. So that's that. So we're going to flip her over. We're going to set our distance and let that squish down. Just going to square up the ends just to get it pretty close. Got to come up just a little bit right there. And then we're going to do a 15 inch wide table. So I'm at 15 and a half. I'll make it that. Way off on this side here. So I'm going to turn it, slide her in. Right there's 15 and a half on that side. 15 and a half. All the way through. So for the ends, I use plexiglass, just like that. Epoxy won't stick to that either. But I do run just to make sure, because we don't need any epoxy sticking to anything that we don't want it to stick to. This wax looks like I need to update my wax. But I just run some wax right on the glass, just like that. And that epoxy will not stick to that. So that's that. I'm going to run a bead of caulk right down the edge of that. And we're going to set that piece right on the table, just like that. It'll wipe it in. Wipe the back. I don't know if you can see it that good, but just going to caulk that in nice and sweet right there. I'm just going to come up the ends. Everything gets sealed off. Nothing worse than a leaky epoxy. Tapped in, you have to let that dry 100% before you do anything else. Here's the other piece right here. I'm going to cap off these ends. Just going to run some wax right on that plexiglass, just like that. Just going to run a bead of caulk right on the bottom. I'm just going to set it right on the table. Nice and square, just like that. Wipe that in tight. Run another solid bead right down the back. And that's it. Now the ends here, because the way this table is shaped, I'm going to have to put a couple little side pieces to close it off completely. I'll give you a close-up view of what it's going to look like. This is the table here. Here's the back, all nice and sealed, just like that. Wax right down the middle. Here's the little gaps that we have to look out for right there. We're going to have to close that off. Just right here, we're just going to have to close that off so no epoxy comes running out of there. I just have to cut a couple more pieces of 2-inch plexiglass and we'll be in business. Okay, so now we got her all locked in. Just going to do a little touch-up sanding and wipe her down with denatured alcohol. She's all sealed off, ready to go, ready for the pour. So if I was a normal person, I would just pick a color and make a river table, but anybody that knows me knows that I don't think out of the box all the time. So we're going to take this right here, this beautiful carnival glass bowl that I don't want no more, and we're going to smash it to bits. And after we do that, we're going to sprinkle all those bits of glass all in down the center of this table and encase it in clear epoxy. So when I get to the smashing part, I'll bring it back in. Okay, so we're at a point now after the delicate operation of breaking up the glass. I have all the pieces pretty much set to where I think it'll reflect the most light from that piece. But what I like to do before I pour anything, I like to heat things up a little bit here with this torch and pull the moisture out. I think that just makes the epoxy flow a little better around the pieces. So we're going to start this pour here. Okay, so what that will do, we'll lock in all the glass, and then we'll see what happens after that. Now I do have quite a bit of what I would call glass dust, lots of shards and all that stuff, and my intention is once I come up another ½ inch, I'm going to sprinkle all this stuff in there and try and get it to suspend in the epoxy, which is the whole idea of it. So counting on the epoxy magnifying these pieces and the light diffusion, which ought to make it pretty cool. So that's going to be it for this stage here, and I'm out of epoxy right now, so I got 4 more gallons of epoxy coming. It should be in here a couple days, and we'll pick back up after that, because I have another project going on here where I'm building a pond. That's going to be a table with all pond stuff there. Just a little sneak peek I'm giving you on my next project. Okay, we are back, and I gotta say that I've had nothing but trouble trying to make this table since my last video. It had warped, it cupped. Most of it was my fault. I tried to pour too much and the epoxy overheated and it warped the wood. So this has been quite the adventure trying to get this done. What happened was I tried to pour 3/4 of an inch when this epoxy only recommends 3/8 of an inch, and it went off way too fast, cooked the wood, and there's not a lot of wood here on this table, so it just made a cup. So this table has been back on the flattening table, trying to get it flat. I think I got most of the cup out. It just has a slight rise to it right here. And it turns out that the top is not as good looking as the bottom. You could see more of the rainbow effect from that carnival glass that's buried in here. So I'm going to go with the bottom instead of the top as far as the top of the table. And I did consider making this a bench too. I just have to find the kind of legs that I want to use. So we are going to go ahead and pour this, just a thin coating on top. And before I do that, I like to warm everything up. I don't like to pour warm epoxy on top of a cold table, so we're going to give her a torch. And now we're just going to pour it, and we're just going to let it flood right over the side. Hopefully she comes out nice and clear. So now I'm just going to smooth this out with my hand and just get an even coat all the way around this whole table. And I'm going to let it run over the sides maybe 1 or 2 more times with a real thin layer. But it seems to be coming out nice and clear. You can see the table underneath. We just wanted to go right over the edge. Now, I gotta be honest, it's not as cool looking as I thought it was gonna be. But it's pretty cool. Something different. So now we got a nice thin layer over the whole table. I'm just going to let that level out. I'll give it a couple minutes. I'll pop all the bubbles. Make it go around the edge. And I'll just give you a flyby on what it's going to look like. Alright guys, before I show you the reveal on this table, I just want to let you know that I had a lot of trouble finishing this table. I did not take into account that the amount of epoxy that I put on this table overheated the small bits of wood that were in there, and it actually curled that table up, so I had to re-flatten the whole thing. But with that said, I got through it. I still haven't tried the legs. I haven't decided whether to make a bench or a table. But I'll show you what it looks like. The glass inside turned out pretty good. So here it is, right here. That's what it looks like. I got the sun shining on now. And the colors that come out of that glass turned out pretty well. With a little bit of reflection off the sun, it should make a nice outside table. I'm getting a lot of shadow because it's pretty sunny out, but that's what it looks like. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little project. It was a little bit more than I thought it would be, but it's something different. Thanks for watching guys. See you next time.